Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here. Welcome to my September 21st DVD update, where I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. And like I always say, if you enjoy these DVD and Blu-ray updates, definitely give the video a thumbs up, share it around, leave me any comments below about the titles I've reviewed in this update, or anything else you suggest that I check out for future updates. Now, the first one I got from Disney is the Diamond Edition Blu-ray DVD digital copy of The Little Mermaid. This is actually, I would think one of the first Disney movies I had ever seen. I actually remember seeing this in theaters very well. It was actually 1989, and I don't remember too much back then, but I distinctly remember going to this movie and then running into this one friend that I used to see all the time. And I think back to this time too. I always think back to watching Pee-wee, on TV. I don't know, just for some reason, I don't know why. It's like one of the few movies that I remember seeing in theaters. Thinking, going back to then. I don't know why. It's one of the only ones like that. Dick Tracy, because I got sick in the theater. And Home Alone. Those are, all 89, 90. Those are one of the ones I always remember. Disney always does such a great job, though, on remastering these films. The movie looked great. I just finished watching it. If you haven't seen the Little Mermaid film, it's about a, girl who's a mermaid under the sea. It's kind of like the land of, under the sea, the fishes talk, and, she has her, friends and things like that. And, she kind of really wants to be a human, because she's always like collecting things from the human, up from above. She has like a big collection of things like that, and she ends up seeing a boat one day and getting real close to a prince on the boat. Seeing him, she ends up saving the prince, and then she ends up pretty much falling in love with him. But since she's a mermaid, how can she see him? The father, who's the king of the under the sea, doesn't want her to have anything to do with him. And, she ends up going to someone to, change her, to make it so she can go up there. That everyone kind of knows the story. And if you've been on, like, the Little Mermaid ride, the beginning, the middle, and the end. But, like I said, though, it looks absolutely great on Blu-ray. Now, the features on here, it's got some really cool stuff. And one thing that I really, really liked, and they have a feature on here which shows the reference video that they shot for the animators. So they got, an actress to play Ariel and a guy to play the prince. And they kind of reenacted, like, pretty much all the scenes. And they showed, bits and pieces of the stuff. And it was kind of funny how, when they were showing bits and pieces of when they did it in this, on the past films like Snow White, and they kind of shot it with film and, had a lot of money to really do it. With Little Mermaid, they shot it all on videotape, and they were kind of sitting in office chairs, and it was just kind of funny the whole way they did it. I really liked that. And the woman that they had doing the reference, for Ariel really does look like, what they came up with, and all these kind of gestures he was doing. That was a really cool feature. I would love to see that for more movies. I know now, though, with animation, they do a lot of motion capture, so I guess they're probably, that's kind of even better, because it's like all the movements can be captured into the computer. But there's just something really cool about that I really liked. It has all the features as well that were on the past DVD from 2006. The commentary, the making of, deleted scenes. It also has a scene in here, feature on here, with the voice actor who played Ariel when she goes to the new Fantasylands part that's themed after the Under the Sea, the Little Mermaid. So she goes to visit that. So that was a pretty cool thing as well. It's just one of my favorite Disney films. Like I said, I remember seeing this as a kid. Looks great on Blu-ray. I know there's also a 3D version of it out as well. The next one I got from Fox, and this is one that I was really interested in seeing. The woman who wrote it, Brit Marling, who's also the star of this, also wrote Another Earth, which is one that I really liked a lot. A total downer film, but, really well done. And this is, I like these kind of movies that are kind of like thinking movies. It's this kind of movie, though, that's not everyone's going to like. But I really, really liked it. I would go as far as say it was one of, my favorite things I've seen in a long time. Just, I like these kind of things. And Brit Marling's character plays this woman who works at this agency where it's basically they go undercover and infiltrate, like, organizations and groups, and the group is called the East, but she goes undercover of this group called the East that does kind of terrorism on corporations, exposes things, like things with nuclear power and things that it does with the water around there. And they kind of do things, and like medicine and they kind of do things to make their point. And she goes undercover with this group, and it's kind of about her with this group. And Ellen Page plays one of the girls in the group, and Alexander Skarsgard, who did really good in this too. He's been in a lot of stuff. I really liked him in Melancholia, which was, a total downer, but I love that movie. This is just one I would highly, highly recommend. It's kind of about her, and about, getting with this group and kind of having mixed opinions about what she's doing, and, kind of getting into the group. And I don't know, I really, really like this. I like these kind of different movies are about different stuff. And it was interesting too, watching the features on this, how the actors who wrote it as well and the director, they kind of went for a summer and lived with a group of people like this. They kind of went around and kind of experienced this kind of stuff. And you could kind of tell with the writing and the way that it went that they had to have gone through some of it to get these kind of experiences, and especially with the writing the way it was. The next one from Fox as well. This is like a total classic. This one, every time I think of it, though, I think of Little Monsters, because Little Monsters uses a pivotal scene from the movie. I'm not going to say the one. I mean, everybody knows it, but it kind of ruins the movie. But they use a scene from this movie in, Little Monsters, and it's The Fly, the original. I love the original, but I think the remake was better. But still, the original is a total classic, but the remake was just, it's so different, though, and takes a way more serious approach to it. But the original, though, was really good for Vincent Price, but it's about a scientist who ends up, creating a teleportation thing, and a fly ends up in there, and he ends up mixed with the fly. And in the remake, it's, him kind of slowly changing as the effect of the fly is starting to take over. In this one, he has a fly head, a human body and a fly head, and the fly, well, you find out. Well, you can kind of figure it out when I say the head, but it's basically, it opens with the doctor's wife, the scientist's wife, killing the fly in this machinery, and it's kind of her explaining to the police and Vincent Price's character what led up to this happening. It's just a really fun, 1950s movie. I love these kind of movies. Vincent Price was always good. It's got a commentary on here, and a biography on Vincent Price, and a documentary in the film. This is just one I would definitely recommend checking out. Looks really good on Blu-ray. And the next one from Shout Factory, Scream Factory line. And this is one I really, really love this set. And it's the Amityville trilogy. I don't know if I saw any of the later ones. I know I saw Amityville Dollhouse, but I don't think I saw any of the other ones. And it's funny, out of the trilogy, the ones that I watched the most, because as a kid, I wasn't, allowed to watch R-rated movies until, like, probably the 5th grade or something around then. But, as a little kid, probably, like, 7, 8, I watched Amityville 3D a lot because it was PG. And it is kind of a weird movie. And the thing that's, I'll get into that in a minute, but, these are haunted house films, based on the story about the husband who killed his whole family. And, the first one is about a new family that moves in after it happened, and, all the weird things that's happening to them. It's most famous for the scene with the priest and the flies on the window. This one has a commentary with the doctor, in philosophy, a documentary in the film, interviews with Margaret Kidder and Josh Brolin. My favorite, though, it's a really good one, but I like this third one. The third one, though, isn't a great movie. I want to say, too, they all look really good on Blu-ray. Shout Factory, is always doing such a good job cleaning these movies up. And they like the first movie has been released before with no features. And I love that this company is continuing to really put so much effort into these features and getting, actors who had a big role in the movie, who had a small role in the movie, people who were like the body doubles. I like that. I like that they really, put this kind of effort into these movies. The second one I really liked a lot too, because Diane Franklin, who is in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Last American Virgin, is in this, and she was really good in this. And this one has a weird element of, like, incest, which was really kind of peculiar, and I don't think I know of any other horror movie that really dealt much with that. It's kind of a weird movie. This is about a family that moves into the house, And I heard someone say something about it being a prequel to the other one. I don't know if that's right. It didn't seem like it to me. Maybe it was, but it involves a possession going on. Basically, when the family gets to this house, the second they get there, weird things are happening to them. They all start getting mad at each other. The father, who's played by, I think Burt Young, I always think of him too, and he's been in tons of great movies, but in Carnival of Blood, he was the guy at the one of the rides, one of the game things. I don't know why I think of him from that all the time, but he basically, all these weird things start happening to them. Diane Franklin's the daughter in the movie. Just all this kind of weird stuff, and this one's got a bunch of features on here as well. Interviews with the director, Diane Franklin interview, just a whole bunch of stuff. Now, the third one is one I really want to talk a lot about. The third one is about, a new guy who moves into the house, and he's kind of a paranormal investigator that kind of debunks things. Kind of reminded me of The Conjuring, like he goes there, and he actually finds out about this house by going to it with a colleague that he works with to try and disprove a fortune teller, kind of, that can see the future and debunk that the whole thing is a hoax and everything like that. And then she ends up being kicked out of the house, and he ends up, moving into this place, and he ends up finding like a hole in the ground, which is like kind of like the hole into hell. And the thing that's so cool about this is it's in 3D, and it's not in, the crappy red and blue where you have to wear those terrible glasses and hurt your eyes and crosses them. Shout Factory went and actually put this into, Blu-ray 3D, which is amazing because this movie has never been seen in this kind of quality, and it was only ever released, in theaters and things like that. I don't even think it was released on DVD in 3D, the kind of crappy one, before. It has never been in this kind of quality. And the thing that's so funny about it is the 3D is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's not like a depth 3D. It's more like things are coming out at you. And there's like a scene with a flashlight. It's like, kind of reminds me if you've seen like Muppets Vision 3D and that kind of stuff, like the old school gimmick 3D that I like sometimes, of things like hitting you and coming right out, which is kind of amazing that, it's kind of funny how movies nowadays are more depth 3D and not as much of this intense kind of stuff, which was kind of fun. The ghosts are really fun in this. They look kind of like Ghostbuster effects. I don't know. I just really, really love this one. And it looked so cool in 3D. Like, I would highly recommend, if you have a 3D TV, definitely watching that. And then, of course, you can watch it in regular if you don't. The next one, I talked a lot more about this in a solo video. It's from Paramount, and it's World War Z. So if you haven't seen that review of that, definitely check that one out. The next one from Paramount as well, Comedy Central, is South Park, the complete 16th season. And the new season's just getting ready to start up, which has been a long time between them. I think it's been a lot longer than they usually take. It's been like almost a year almost. But this one's got a whole bunch of really good episodes on this. The one that I really liked, wasn't like the greatest episode ever, but I liked it because it was kind of cool, was the one when I should have gone ziplining, when they do live action South Park, which was kind of fun. Brendan Hardesty, who's from YouTube, and then Bucky Larson, and Bart Born to be a Star, a whole bunch of stuff. He's got a new movie coming out. I followed that guy for a long time, and he does like reenactment actings and things like that. He's a cool guy, and he actually plays Eric Cartman in that. So I thought that was kind of cool that they used him for that. And, he was in the American Pie Book of Love. It's got a bunch of other ones on here, too. One of the other great episodes was about kind of a joke on Blockbuster, about, how all the Blockbusters are closing and there's just about none left. And Kyle's father ends up purchasing and going out of business Blockbuster. And, no one comes in there, and they all look at it like it's an own haunted house. And I thought that was a really smart episode. The thing with this show is it's one of the, in my opinion, the best shows for, current humor. And, it's kind of funny, though, if you look back on the show, it's one of the few shows that can really show the time, because they kind of reference everything that's going on at the time. So if you were looking back in like season 2 episodes, they kind of are almost dated, but they're fun to look back on just because it's, just like kind of a time capsule of what was kind of going on at the time. And that's what I love about the show. In my opinion, like for animated shows, that is one of my top favorites, next to King of the Hill, which is gone, but that was one that I loved. The next one from Sony is The Kings of Summer. And I saw this one in theaters as well. I watched it again. It's just a really fun movie. It kind of has a vibe. And they even say on here, movies like, Stand By Me and the kind of feel of like Moonrise Kingdom, Wes Anderson's kind of movies. It's about these two friends that end up, the one kid ends up coming up with the idea of building his dream home out in the middle of the woods. And it's the two friends that end up building it. And then it's like their one kind of, not fully, totally their friend, but it's kind of like weird kid who's really funny in the movie and gets all kinds of really funny laughs. But he's all out there and it's all them kind of building it and living out there. And there's all these funny, it's also about the family trying to find them and kind of wondering where they are because they've been missing for quite a while. And there's some really funny stuff in here too that deals with Boston Market and finding the food and like never look at Boston Market the same. I don't know. This is one I would highly recommend. It's got deleted scenes on here, and the best of one-liners on here, and a feature out on the film. It's just a really fun movie, and if you like those kind of in the woods kind of teen films, about growing up and all that kind of stuff and like Stand By Me vibe, you definitely would like this one. And the next one from Magnolia's, Magnet line, is VHS 2, which I really enjoyed VHS 1 and liked VHS 2 a little bit more. It's an anthology horror film, and it kind of is all wrapped around these people watching the tapes. I don't want to get into too much on the backstory of it, but the stories on this one, Adam... I'll just make sure I say his name right, Adam Wingard. I always know if I'm saying his name properly or right, but he just recently directed You're Next, which is a really, really good slasher film that I really liked a lot. But this has, I think it's 4 different stories on here. His story was about a guy who ends up having this eye transplant, cornea transplant. It's like a digital thing, and ends up seeing weird things. One of them was a guy, all shot on a GoPro camera, all on his perspective of, bike riding, and it's kind of like a perspective of a zombie, because he gets bitten by a zombie and then he becomes a zombie, and it's like the zombie's perspective of killing from the GoPro. So that was really cool. And then one, which is about these people going to this cult and this really weird, creepy cult. That was a really, really cool segment. It's got a whole bunch of features on here. Filmmaker commentary, behind the scenes, all kinds of different stuff on this. This is one I would highly recommend if you like anthology and you like indie horror and things like that. Definitely would check this one out. The next one, now this one is a little bit tough to watch. I would say actually a lot tough to watch. I mean, it was one of those kind of few movies where like the stuff that was going on was almost like I had a hard time. I almost had to shut it off. But not because it's a bad movie. I actually thought it was very effective and pretty well done. And I actually liked it a little bit better than the last remake. And it's I Spit on Your Grave too. But I just have to really warn you that the rape thing in this and everything is really, really, really the tortures of the woman, the main actress, who did an outstanding job, and I definitely hope to see her in more films. And I know this was like one of her first movies. She did a couple little things before, but she was so good in this. I actually think she might have been a little better than the Sarah Butler, who was, I believe that's her name, who was in the last one, and she was really good. But this woman, who plays the part, was so believable, and then when she gets her revenge, how creepy she became, and how good she was at it, And the thing is, it's kind of, you're supposed to be kind of, the reason why what's happening to her is done so intense is it's because it's a revenge film. So it's all the more making you want to see her get revenge on who did this to her. And this woman in the movie is a model who's going to, she sees a thing in a coffee shop for free photos, which is a terrible sign. You hear about this all the time, about these kind of pervy photographers and, kind of bad things happening. So she ends up going there, and it's these 3 guys, and they're very peculiar, and they're trying to get her to take her clothes off, and she doesn't want to do it. And the one guy ends up becoming obsessed with her and starts watching her, and it ends up becoming the rape and what happens to her, and ultimately there's some really effective twists. And I'm not going to talk about where I will say though it takes place in a city, and there's some really great tunnel scenes in this. Her revenge though wasn't as interesting. Some of it was interesting. Other of it wasn't as original as the last one. Of course, this is a remake of the '70s film I Spit on Your Grave, which to me I never absolutely loved that one. I didn't like that it didn't have music. I know they did that to try and make it seem a little bit realer, but just I never loved that one. But this, when you compare this to like the original Last House on the Left and all these kind of things, the level of intensity and how hard this was to watch was very similar to Martyrs. But I would say, go into it knowing I'm not gonna. I thought it was good, but like I said, I felt really uncomfortable with a lot of it. Not that it was bad, the movie just was not a movie that I'm going to highly recommend to everybody unless you know what you're getting into, because some people really would be like, but it works though for being very shocking. The next one from Accelerator Media is Inbred, and this is one that I've heard a lot about. I've seen the poster around and seen like the trailer before. This is another one that was really, really different and really went for it, but it's kind of more of a dark comedy, so it has kind of a comedic element to it, where Spit on Your Grave was really serious. But this has a very comedic element to it, and it's about a group of these kids, two adults and a group of these kids going out into the English countryside to basically, it's like one of those kind of things about bad kids. They kind of, get in trouble and all that kind of stuff, going out into the country to kind of see things and be out there for a while, and kind of just like, those group activities, kind of like they did in the Third Sleepaway Camp. They've done a lot of movies like that where people go out there and clean up things. They kind of go out there and they go to this old train yard out in the middle of the country, and it was kind of cool. It was these old trains, like, train cars. You wonder how did they get out there, but they're out there cleaning them up in this small weird town. They only have this one bar there, and everybody's really weird. They're all inbreds, and they're all kind of wearing Billy Bob teeth, and they're there, and then they end up seeing these group of inbreds, and then they attack the one. And it's basically them all captive by these crazy inbreds. And there's some crazy, shocking stuff in this. Some, like, a couple elements, too, I was kind of surprised with. But, I really thought it was pretty effective and has a real, has a couple original aspects to it. It reminded me of Straw Dogs, some stuff in the house and things like that. But I like this one. I would definitely recommend this one. It's another one that's kind of crazy, but it's a more comedic, and I thought it was pretty funny. The next one from Sony as well is a new Brendan Fraser film. This one was okay. I thought Ethan Suplee was pretty good in this, but it was another one of those kind of movies where I felt like he didn't get a whole ton of direction. I did feel for him quite a bit, his character, and you kind of tell that there was something, he was supposed to be a character who was a little slow, and I believe that they kind of were hinting at it that it had to do with an accident, and there was, because it was basically him and his brother trying to escape to Canada for some reason. And Brendan Fraser, though, is kind of one of those people who's against, tearing down trees and things like that, and ends up in the beginning of the movie accidentally killing this guy. And by mistake, guy fell backwards, so he didn't really do it, but he got arrested for it. So then, while he's in jail and he's going to be getting out pretty soon, his daughter and then one of her friends, I think it was like one of her dad's friends that he worked with, they're all out there in the woods trying to do something. And, Ethan Supplee's character, it's the daughter and the son, and his son, and Ethan Supplee's character and his brother, who's kind of nuts too, are out there, and then they end up, are seen killing somebody, and then it's like them kind of getting away. So it's like basically a movie, though, about, Ethan Supplee's character and stuff coming after them, and Brendan Fraser in jail hearing about this and wanting to get out, and it's one of those kind of movies. I thought it was okay. Brendan Fraser was doing some kind of weird yelling at doors, like, "Alistair! Edie!" Like, I don't know, he was just yelling this kind of weird way. I don't want to lie, I like Brendan Fraser way more in comedy. He's done some drama stuff that I really liked. It's a little bit more serious. Blast of the Past has some more serious elements. But him doing this kind of a role doesn't totally fit. Same with Ethan Suplee. Doesn't totally fit, because he's basically just like, "Don't talk to me like that." There just wasn't much to that character. I don't think it would have been that fun to play it. You know what I mean? The next one from Kino is the classic Bela Lugosi film, The Devil Bat. This is a really fun one. I kept thinking of, Bela Lugosi, the Martin Landau version of him and Ed Wood. He did such a great job playing him and Ed Wood. This is about a scientist who ends up creating this gigantic bat. And I love how they, Kino did a great job cleaning this movie up. And I love, how they have this super fake bat. And then they do close-ups of, stock footage of a bat that was real out of focus. Because I guess back then they didn't have, like, macro lenses, so you couldn't really get very close. So it kind of looks so peculiar when they would close up on the bat, and every time he would let the bat go, this big bat came out, and then these little ones came out for and you never really saw them, like why were these little ones going out? And Bela Lugosi's character ends up creating a kind of a perfume, which is what he gives the people that are like enemies and things like that to put on. He's like, put it on the tender part of your neck, and the bat attacks and kills the people. I don't know, I love these kind of ones. This was just a really fun old time one. Same with this one, which is, I really like this because it was filmed a lot in I've never I would never have seen it unless I had a time machine, but in Santa Monica they had an original, I think Ocean Park Beach or Ocean Park Pier, something like that, and they had like a theme park. This kind of was competition to Disneyland. So it's really cool, like looking at videos of it online. If anybody watches this video was actually at that, let me know. Anyone who's older who's there. But it's Nighttide with Dennis Hopper, and Dennis Hopper plays like a guy in the Navy who's out on shore leave, and he kind of comes and goes. He ends up meeting this woman on the pier who plays the mermaid in the freak show. And, she has like this fake thing that she wears. And, the people are all around, he starts to really fall in love with this girl. And everyone around is kind of looking at him weird and kind of saying, oh, I wouldn't get too close to her. And saying, her last two boyfriends were found dead. And all kinds of weird stuff like that's going on. And it's kind of like, is this woman really a mermaid? That's kind of the question. And is she, what's going on here? And I love these kind of ones too, when they're kind of a flashback to seeing the old carnival rides and that kind of stuff. And, Kino is always doing such a great job with remastering these movies. It's just, amazing how, they can clean these things up. The next one from Vinegar Syndrome, another company that does such a good job cleaning up these movies to the point where it's like, I don't even know where they find the negatives that are in this good of shape. There's some of them, they don't really have any scratches on them or anything. It's just like pristine, looks new. And it's the Dial Squad, from director, it's a Dial Squad with Mission Kill Fist with, from director Ted V. Michaels. I think that's how you say his name. He directed, the Corpse Grinders and things like that. These are really cool grindhouse films. One of them is kind of reminds me of the Dial Squad one is kind of like a Charlie's Angels, and it has like the feeling of, movies like Austin Powers kind of made, copied this kind of vibe of movies. Those kind of silly, fun, girl spy movies. And Kill Fist was a fun karate movie, but this is just a fun one. If you like Ted V. Michaels movies and the grindhouse kind of movies, I definitely recommend them. Just really fun movies. So anyway, though, guys, thanks again for watching the new update. Definitely give this a thumbs up if you've been enjoying these, and I'll see you guys later.